Thank you. We now move on to other business. Private Members Bill, Protection of Life in Pregnancy Amendment Bill, Foetal Abnormalities Bill, first stage. Call on Deputy Clare Daly to move for leave to introduce the bill.
Thanks, Count Corley. Could I seek leave to move the Protection of Life in Pregnancy Amendment Foetal Abnormalities Bill 2013?
Thank you. Is the bill being opposed? No. I declare the motion for leave to introduce agreed. Since this is a private member's bill, I'd ask the Deputy to move that second stage be taken in private members' time.
I move that second stage be taken in private members' time.
Thank you. Is that agreed? Agreed.
The minutes on a Count Corley, are you?
You should have taken them. Sorry, I thought you were. No, when I call you for leave to introduce.
It's just the clock. I wasn't showing any time, so I didn't. It's only changed now, so I thought.
I'm sorry. I thought you knew.
Right.
I understood that you didn't wish to speak.
Okay.
If you wish to say it.
Just maybe a very short control, and I apologise for that. Look, this is a bill to allow for a termination of a pregnancy in Ireland where the fetus has a condition which is incompatible with life. This is an issue which I think has probably affected every deputy in the House. It's one which the Minister for Justice has described as an intolerable cruelty. And I think it is motivated really by my desire to see something done in relation to this matter. We're talking about women and families who in the main are dealing with much wanted pregnancies, who experience a diagnosis which is clearly devastating, that the fetus is not going to survive, and having to deal with that grief is compounded by the body blow that they are then forced to leave this country. They're not given adequate information. The information they're given is given in a climate of secrecy. And then they're not allowed to bring the remains of the fetus back. It can sometimes get posted back. We've heard stories of people bringing it back in the boot of a car. Now, this is something that has been correctly taken, in my opinion, to the United Nations as a human rights violation and as inhuman and degrading treatment. And I think what we have to say is that this is happening now. There are large numbers of people who experience this in Ireland every year. One Liverpool hospital has made a special arrangement, such are the numbers involved, and over 90% of Irish people say that they believe a pregnancy should be terminated in these circumstances. And the only argument put up against that is the unpublished opinion of the present Attorney-General, who we're told says that it would be constitutional. Now, I have to respond to that by saying it's a fact that there are other opinions by eminent legal people and by a former Attorney-General which disagrees with that view. And the only way we'll resolve the conflict is if we bring in legislation and have the Supreme Court adjudicate on it. The state's previous Attorney-General made the argument that I'm making now in the case of D versus Ireland at the European Court of Human Rights, where the court found that there was at least a tenable argument which would be seriously considered by the domestic courts to the effect that the fetus was not an unborn for the purposes of Article 43(3), or that even if it was an unborn, its right to life was not actually engaged as it had no prospect of life outside the womb. So in actual fact, the state has previously argued that it would be constitutional to legislate in this circumstance. Now, I'm aware that Minister White and Minister Shatter and other ministers have stated publicly that they believe that this issue should be addressed. What I'm saying to the government is that in your lifetime this won't be addressed unless we move legislation on it, bring it to the Supreme Court, have them adjudicate and end the misery for these families so as they so well put it themselves that they can deal with it as a normal tragedy without the added burden of all of the extra of having to travel out of their country in secrecy and so on.